Hi, I'm Pam, and I'm here to talk about retro video games. A few weeks back, I put the next game I'd review up to a vote on Twitter. Adventure Island is the thing that ended up winning, but I secretly wanted another one to emerge victorious. That game? The Guardian Legend. The Guardian Legend was developed by Compile and released for the NES in 1989. The game deftly combines two genres, creating a hybrid of a shoot-'em-up and a top-down action-adventure. As the story goes, Naju, a world teeming with evil life forms, is hurtling towards the Earth, and you play the lone guardian who has to stop it. This is my 9th NES review, and the first one that features a female protagonist. And not only is she a woman, she's an aerobot transformer who can switch between her human form and that of a fighter craft. Awesome! Now unfortunately, the Guardian Legend hides behind some pretty generic artwork on the box and cartridge, but don't let that fool you, because inside there's a pretty great game. The game is split into two distinct areas. There's the Labyrinth, a series of rooms and passages where you take on your human form, fight monsters, and gather items. There's an in-game map that'll tell you where you are and where you should be going, at least once you learn to read it. As you open up new areas, the map gets bigger. In addition to the starting area, there are another 10 zones to open up. As you can see, the game is very large. The other part of the game is the corridors. This is where the shoot-'em-up part of the game comes in. Here you change into your fighter craft form and go through a fairly lengthy vertical corridor. Each corridor is filled with many different types of enemies, and each one ends in a boss fight. Sections of each corridor range from fairly relaxed to quite hectic to outright devious. When you defeat most of the end bosses, you get a key which will open up a new area of the labyrinth. The game introduces a bit of a puzzle element when it comes to opening some of the corridors. Scattered throughout the labyrinth are clues for how to open them. Some are interesting, like having to shoot at a specific thing in the room, but a lot don't really add anything to the game. Most annoying of the bunch was the one where you had to enter and exit the corridor room repeatedly until it decided to open. For an NES game, the Guardian Legend is surprisingly complex. There are a ton of different weapons and stats to be leveled up, and item drops that come from killing monsters. At first it was a little bit overwhelming, but once I got used to it, it became an aspect of the gameplay that I really enjoyed. There are a ton of weapons, most of which can be used in both the labyrinth and the corridors. My favorites are the fireball, which slowly shoots ahead of you, damaging anything in its path. The bullet shield, which circles around you, damaging anything that comes close. And the repeller, which fires ahead of you and moves in large circles, taking out a big portion of the field. There are also weapons like backfire and the cutter laser, which allow you to attack behind and to the sides of you, which opens up new strategies, especially for boss fights. And then there's the enemy eraser, which kinda speaks for itself. These special weapons can be found in the labyrinth, usually from mini-bosses, and can be leveled up to a 3rd level. Special weapons are powered by power chips, and you can find red and blue chips all over the place in order to replenish them. The most important items are red and blue landers. These usually come from mini-bosses or from corridor bosses and will increase your maximum health or power chips. This game is not linear. You can skip portions of the labyrinth and go right to a number of the corridors, but this would be a mistake since you'd miss a lot of these power-ups. You can even buy them from a few shops scattered around the labyrinth. The difficulty of the game is a bit uneven. I generally found the corridors pretty easy. I used my special weapons liberally, and a well-placed fireball could easily take out most enemies on screen. The corridors, on the other hand, were much harder. Enemies were numerous and sometimes hard to see against busy backgrounds. I found that it wasn't possible to avoid getting hit at all, so instead I generally tried to minimize my hits while making sure I picked up every health pickup that dropped for me. Strangely, I found the game got easier as it went. My character got powered up so much over the course of the game, and the extra health and power seemed to outpace the advancement of my enemies. The game offers a lot of different environments and enemy types. Though bosses do get repeated a couple times each, there are a lot of them, and each requires a different strategy. Some are quite straightforward and can be done with minimal movement, while others require a lot of bobbing and weaving. The huge selection of weapons allows for multiple viable strategies for each boss. As you can probably tell by the majority of the footage I chose for this video, I did find the corridors to be the most interesting part of the game. The last level of the game is a boss rush stage where you fight each of the bosses you had fought before, one right after another. Then just when you think it's over, you come up against the final boss, which is something completely new. I really enjoyed The Guardian Legend. It's not a perfect game, but its hybrid nature and myriad of ways of powering up your character made it a lot of fun to play. I also really like that I could tailor the game to my personal preferences by choosing which weapon suited me best in each situation. The game is long, maybe even a little too long, easily taking me over 6 hours to beat. If you want to pick up a copy yourself, it's a common game, so it should only cost you $10 or $15. I think this is a steal, and I highly recommend it. Alright, that's it for The Guardian Legend. If you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate any shares and likes, as well as any comments, questions, or requests. Thanks for watching!